Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
Here is a very good thought for the day. Always pray to have eyes that see the best in people, a heart that forgives the worst, a mind that forgets the bad, and a soul that never loses faith in God. Amen. Here comes Kate Smith, and God bless America, followed by a patriot. Come on, patriots, with our Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning, good morning, good morning. And a good morning to you. Zeb at the Ranch, I'm Zeb Bell with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations, serving you with the best of safe driving tires, absolutely. And, of course, some of our great advertisers, including Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. Right now, let's go to the phone line. I want to hear a patriot do our pledge. Good morning.
Good morning, sir. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, Doug, thank you very much, and call back a little later. Thank you, my friend. Appreciate it. Great job. Right now, let's go to the weather forecast brought to you by K&R Rental. Oh, talk about doing a great job. Every day they're there to serve you. K&R Rental, 256 South, 600 west of Heyburn on the Burley-Paul Highway. And they've got all the best of tools and equipment to help you finish any job. I'm telling you, they got the mowers and the tractors and the excavators. They've got everything. And you can talk about both long and short-term rentals. So get a hold of them today. K&R Rental. Number to call, 678-3122. Right now, here's Gina with the weather.
A beautiful day is what's in store for us this Tuesday. Here's the Elixir weather forecast. We are expecting sunny skies and a high of 92, a little bit on the breezy side. Winds out of the southwest at about 10 miles an hour. For tonight, mostly clear with a low of 58. A few clouds roaming around for Wednesday, partly sunny skies. We are expecting a high of 92 with an overnight low of 60. And then as we hit Thursday, mostly sunny skies and 88. That's a look at your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch.
Thank you, Gina. Great job and appreciate it. K&R Rental, our sponsor. Roger and the crew, they get there early in the morning at 7 a.m. to serve you on the Burley-Paul Highway. Number to call, ask them questions about the equipment you need, 678-3122, K&R Rental. Caller, I'll be right there. Stand by. Don't forget Thursday is sale day at the Burley Livestock Sale Yard, 1100 Occidental Avenue in Burley. Number to call for cattle consignments and sale information, 678-9411. Merv May, Cade, Rogge, Lance, Judy, all the folks over there at the sale that works for you. Thursday, sale day at the Burley Livestock Sale Yard, starting time 10:30. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb. I hadn't even thought about this until I was watching KMVT, and that's when they come on about global warming. And global warming has now caused people's body temperature to rise, and so the medical profession don't know what to do. Can you imagine that?
The hypocrisy and the lack of knowledge and understanding and really blowing smoke. That's all this is blowing smoke on the climate change alarmists and for KMVT, local news operation, to promote and say something like that if they were the ones. I didn't see the report, so I can't point my finger. But, this is summertime. And if you'll go back through the records and go back through your life and think about the end of July, going into the dog days of August, summer, and talk about the warm temperatures, talking about the sweating, talking about having to seek shade and get some cool beverage, whatever the case might be. I don't know why in the world we are so concerned about something that is not out of the normal, not out of the average, and yet we're making a big deal out of it, fed by people that are idiots. And those are the climate change alarmists.
Well, you know what the problem is for all these times they're trying to get these scientists to fall in line. And people like you and I, we don't believe them.
No, wait a minute. I believe science. I want to interrupt you there, Keith. I believe in science, and I believe in the scientists that are really looking at this thing without jaded viewpoints, that aren't getting a few bucks slipped under the table by the liberal left, which is happening, and that's already been proven on many occasions. I believe in science if it really is science, and don't ever buy into this garbage, and that's what it is, when they say 97% of the scientists agree. No, maybe 97% of the scientists they asked. That's a big difference. And when you talk to scientists that have been on my program from various institutes and organizations all over the United States, including meteorological societies, National Weather Service, those are the ones that are the experts that say, wait a minute, don't be led by the nose over a cliff by these climate change alarmists.
Well, they're trying to get the doctor to fall in line, and we believe in doctors. I do. My doctor tells me something, I take it for granted that that's the way it should be. And this is just another way of attacking the American people.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. I mean, there's a lot of things to be said for the gullibility and the, let's say, the readiness of people at a doctor's office to buy into anything. Some of the doctors across the United States are being encouraged to ask about whether they have guns in the home, whether they're locked up, what caliber they are, and if that is ever asked of me, ever, I'm just going to look them in the eye and say, it's none of your blankety-blank business. Just take care of my physical needs.
Right on, brother.
All right, Keith. God bless you, man. Thank you so much. Have a great day. Appreciate it. All right. Hey, don't forget Daryl's Cleaners at 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. And I urge you to take your clothes in for all the dry cleaning. We've been taking our clothes in there for years and years and years. And they always come back looking brand spanking new. And for those of you that are really in a time crunch and you don't have time to do the washing, your washing, take them to Daryl's. They'll wash, dry, fold, and iron all your clothes, just like Mama used to do at Daryl's Cleaners, 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. Great people. You stop in and see them today. And some other great folks that deserve your business because they've been serving you for over 6 decades with the best of professionalism, and that is Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. They also open up early in the morning at 7:30 to 5, Monday through Friday. All your heating, cooling, keyword right there for summertime, and electrical needs. All there at Ramsey Heating and Electric. Call them 678-0459. They can and will help you at Ramsey Heating and Electric in Burley. Calls are welcome and appreciated. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I want to talk to you in just a minute about the Democratic debates that are going to be tonight. There's some things to watch for and some things to worry about politically. Don't forget Denny's Restaurant, 611, I almost choked to death, 611 North Overland in Burley. Denny's Restaurant, great food, great people, and it's America's Diner. What more do you know? What more do you have to know? I mean, absolutely, every time you go in there, you're going to get the best of whatever you order off the menu. You're going to get the best of people serving you with a smile on their face. And you're going to walk out of there going, oh, let's come back soon. Denny's Restaurant, 611 North Overland in Burley, and another location at 291 Pole Line Road in Twin Falls. It's true. They are America's Diner and the home of Zeb's Lunch Bunch at Denny's Restaurant. I have watched, I think with due diligence, what is going on in the Democratic Party and what's happening to various people involved in leaning and running towards the nod for getting the nomination for the Democratic Party to be president. Some of these people, well, I should rephrase that. Most of these people are absolute kooks. Yeah, that's true. They're absolute kooks. And some of which, like Elizabeth Warren, there's one I'm going to mention this morning. You talk about a kook queen. She is. She is coming out with plans, trade plans. Hold on, caller. I'll be right there. Trade plans that she said if she's president, she will, on behalf of the United States of America, only trade with countries that are in line with the Paris Climate Accord. What? Meaning that we, of course, if she was president, would be part of the very restrictive and very devastating climate accord here in the United States. And she said that she wants to just work with countries that are of the same volition to absolutely push climate as the number one issue that has to be taken care of. What she said, and it was estimated that if she went with her tight program on climate, it would cost over 400,000 American jobs. Over 400,000 American jobs. She is the queen of the kooks. I'll tell you more in a minute. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning.
Yes, sir.
For the Burley Senior Center on South Overland today is a great taco salad, fruit cocktail, and I believe banana bread. And for $5 you call ahead, you can pick up a lunch at 12 o'clock.
You know what, Joe? It's a great buy. It's great food, and you're a great salesman. And the week you were gone on vacation, we were worried about you, but you're back in full flare. Thank you so much.
All right. And we serve up from 12 to 1 o'clock.
All right. Thank you, Joe. The Burley Senior Center on Overland. Thank you very much. I want to also take a moment here and mention about Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation. Oh, they're kind of upset at me because I had to cancel this last week. I didn't get in there. Last week's schedule was, oh my goodness, it was terrible. And I urge you not to do what I did. You get in there and you take care of yourself and help yourself get back to being you. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley. Number to call, 678-1191. Nick Greenwell and all the physical therapists there, they are excellent, excellent people serving you. They know the exercises. They can get you in that hydrotherapy pool to really enhance the muscle involvement and betterment of all your joints and everything. I'm telling you, they know. They know. And they can help you. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation, 678-1191, 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley. And real quick, let's not forget our friends over at Ark Animal Hospital. Hello, how you doing this morning? Dr. Bill and I had the nicest visit with Dr. Bill here about a week and a half ago. Good old boy. He's on Good Old Boys Club. And he just absolutely cares about your pets, cares about your livestock, and they urge you that if there's a problem, give them a call. They can, and they will definitely help the health of your animals. Ark Animal Hospital, 750 21st Street, near Connection Credit Union in Heyburn. Number to call, 678-1177. And it's so true. They have the warm hearts for the cold noses. Well, along with Elizabeth Warren, that woman, she just looks like she escaped from something. She scares me. Along with Elizabeth Warren, you've got good old Gumby. You know, he stands up on lunch counters, and he jumps around, and he bends his arms and contorts in various fashions. I'm calling him Gumby from now on. Beto O'Rourke. He wants over $500 billion. I didn't say billion. I said trillion. $500 billion to go to public schools, but he's basing more of that money to be applied and applicable to racial standards. Oh, is he playing the race card in this election? Oh, my. And he absolutely is against anything other than public schools. He wants to put all that in there and playing the race card. Oh, Beto. Oh, I think, here's a prediction, that if Beto O'Rourke, Gumby, doesn't have a very good night tonight, you can stand at the intersection and wave goodbye to Mr. Gumby, because he's going to be gone and out of there. But the person that scares me the most, no, it's not Joe Biden. No, it's not any other Democratic so-called contender. The person that scares me the most running for that nomination, because she looks like a piece of dynamite that is going to explode, Kamala Harris. I'm afraid of that woman. I am, and what she can do in her policies and her thoughts. She has a climate change agenda that absolutely is so far-reaching and could be so devastating to the populace of the United States, especially, bingo, rural living and lifestyles. She really has got a plan that has come out and said, we're going to be more aware of where people live and what they do. And she absolutely is making charges against no fossil fuels. And it looks like Idaho Power is siding right in with her kind of thinking, going completely green in 20-plus years. Kamala Harris and Idaho Power, there's a team for you. And these are just some of the things that need to be watched in the debates for the next two nights. I know what you're saying. That, oh, you mean I really got to sit down and watch those debates, Zeb? Well, you don't have to, but I think you should be aware, totally aware of what these dim-dems are proposing and want to do. And you know as well as I do, and this is true, this is kind of crunch time, to the point where the lessers of the Democrats up at the podiums are going to be making wild, crazy assertions to try to get your attention and more money. So it's going to be kind of a wild Parcheesi game tonight and tomorrow night with the Democrats. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Come on, folks. Yesterday, not many calls. Today, we wanted to light up the lines, so if you would, please. I understand from everybody I talked to early this morning that the lawnmower races over at the Minidoka County Fair were outstanding. Outstanding. Well, congratulations to them at the 71st Annual Minidoka County Fair with the theme Making Tracks to the Minidoka County Fair. Now, tonight, Tuesday, they've got the Tiny Tot Gymkhana at 6 p.m. and also music by Ryan Shoup and the Rubber Band, and that's going to be in the horse racing grandstand on the south end. Holy smokes, tomorrow night, the Big Lions Barbecue, Wednesday and Thursday, Junior Rodeo, Friday and Saturday, Wild West Open Rodeo, along with antique tractor pulls, everything at your 71st Annual Minidoka County Fair. You be there. Real quick, caller, I also want to acknowledge our friends at Rain for Rent. Hello, Jake. I mean, these have been great people to work with, and they've got the telemetry annex boxes so that you can direct the pivots and what's going on right from your telephone. I'm not kidding. Science is amazing. And they're a Reinke Diamond dealer, and they've got such a great group of people, dedicated sales staff and service staff serving you for your irrigation needs. Rain for Rent, 438-5065, located at 134 South, 600 West of Paul. Rain for Rent. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
remember when you were a kid and you were so excited when you heard the circus was coming to town because you thought you were going to see something new? And that's why I watched the Democratic debates.
Well, I'm not sure you're going to see something new. You're going to see something scary. You're going to be seeing and listening to something that's very radical. You're going to be seeing and watching people, I think, in many cases, make fools out of themselves. You're going to be seeing, I think, a party that is in complete disarray. I think you're going to be seeing a lot of people not knowing really where to stand as a moderate or jump on the left-wing bandwagon with people like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. I think you're going to see a wreck.
Yeah, but I'm looking forward to it because I need some entertainment.
Well, let me tell you something, Keith. I know that you have a little money in your pocket. Spend a little bit more and enjoy something else.
Well, yeah, but you're going to watch them too.
I have to. It's my job. It's my job. But, you know, I really do not relish, honestly, sitting there watching Bill de Blasio or Kamala Harris or especially this. I said it earlier. The woman scares me because she's absolutely so weird, and that's Elizabeth Warren. I mean, she looks like she's about ready to jump right into the camera lens and go, ah!
Yeah, she does remind me of a damn monkey.
Okay. All right. Thanks for your call back. Appreciate it. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. This whole deal about Baltimore, Maryland, come on now, folks. Let's say that we had a community, and we don't, God bless all these communities. Let's say we had a community right here that was just rat-infested and full of garbage. And can you imagine on these hot summer days what that would smell like? Oh, my goodness. Well, first of all, the citizenry would be clamoring, stammering, and doing everything they could to get elected officials to do their job and get this mess cleaned up. And I don't understand how cities like Baltimore, Chicago, New York, and others can turn into open-pit garbage dumps, which do nothing but breed more filth, the rats, the vermin, etc. And it's not just in designated areas. It's on the streets in front of the homes. It's in the homes. It's all over. Now, somebody might be offended by what I'm about to say, but I'm not going to blame the city in its entirety for not taking care of the garbage. I'm not going to blame the mayor of Baltimore and other cities for not taking care of all the rats. But it comes back to, and see if you agree with this, give me a call, lazy, slovenly, gimme people too lazy to stand up and do their own work. I mean this unfortunately, I tell you what, back in 1968, I lived on the East Coast for about 3 months. And what an education. It was bad then, and it's so much worse now. And it does seem to me that much of the filth, much of the garbage, much of the chaos, much of the lower class living is because people are too lazy to get up and take care of themselves and try to better themselves and keep their area clean. Maybe you don't agree with that. You know, it's easy to say, well, let's throw some money at it and they'll get it all cleaned up and it'll stay nice and pristine and everybody will have a little white fence around their property. It ain't going to happen. Not going to happen. Lazy people will just take the money, or they'll let the people that get the money clean it up, and then they'll just go right back to pitching it out the back door or the front door or whatever. It's people's attitude and a lack of responsibility that are creating the problems that are in these major cities. And for Al Sharpton and others on the Democratic Party to say that, excuse me, that race was a part of Donald Trump's remarks. No, it wasn't. He just said that it is a rat-infested garbage dump. Now, if I hadn't been to some of the major cities back there and seen some of this years ago, maybe I might even be in tune to say, well, come on, maybe it's the city government's fault, etc. No, it's people's fault in general for allowing this to happen. Let's just say that there's a tenement back in Baltimore. And honestly, you might laugh at this and scoff at it, but it's true. They open the windows on the upper floors and just pitch the garbage outside. They do. Now, what kind of a real wholesome, healthy approach is that? But yet we want more money to clean our town up. Why don't they take care of the garbage? And if there's no way to take care of it or put it in a certain spot, go to City Hall and demand, and I mean really start making demands that they want those trucks running right there. They're going to clean up after themselves. Plastic bags are cheap, and they can clean up their own area and make sure it stays clean. But we have given, for instance, to Baltimore millions and millions and millions of dollars. And it's easy for the left and segments of our society that live there to say, oh, give us more. But they really aren't involved in cleaning up their own mess. What are your thoughts on that? I want to hear. Please give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Don't weaken on me. You give me a call. While I'm waiting for your call, I also want to remind you about some really, really good folks that have put a business together to serve seniors and really create a family atmosphere. I'm talking about Greystone Crossing, independent senior living on 21st Street. That's just 1 mile east of Walmart. Beautiful location, beautiful rooms, everything. And for those of you that are wondering about, the meals, 3 meals a day, plus snacks, plus housekeeping, local transportation if you've got to get someplace, and you're staying with your friends. Wow! I mean, all the stories you can tell. You better call Matt and Kelly Wiggins today at 650-4979 to go over and get an appointment to see the facilities at Greystone Crossing Independent Senior Living. 650-4979. I hope that we have some callers out there that will respond and give me your opinion on this, and you're welcome to call. Right now, caller, I'll be right with you. Stand by. I also want to quickly say Berry Equipment and Rental. Oh, they got all the big dudes, the big equipment, and even the itty-bitty equipment. They've got all the Doosan wheel loaders and excavators. They've got all the mini excavators. They've got all the Bobcats for the lifting and the digging and the pushing and the carrying and the grading and the leveling and everything else. Wow, they've got your equipment for sale or for rent. You better get a hold of them today. Berry Equipment and Rental, 159 West Highway 30 in Burley, 465 Addison Avenue West in Twin, and the Nampa location, Berry Equipment and Rental. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Yes, good morning, Zeb. Joe Biden and Eliza Cummings both have the same thing in common. They are labor fakers, big BSers, and no substance to those two guys at all. They're lining their pockets, and I'm sure that's what it is. Nothing will ever get done until we get rid of people like the both of them.
Well, the only way you're going to get rid of people like Al Sharpton is to clean up the act of what's going on in Baltimore, Chicago, and other cities. And once there is not a problem, Al Sharpton's out of work. And Al Sharpton thrives and puts big money in his billfold and his checking account because of problems. He doesn't want to stop problems. He wants to keep creating and infuriating and building a fire under those problems. That's how he gets his money.
Well, the big problem is the hands of the police department have been handcuffed. They know exactly what needs to be done out in the street to put a stop to this BS. But we've got all the liberals out there and the bleeding hearts. And now in New York, you probably already know that police are frustrated. 5 of them have already committed suicide.
Yeah, it's such a sad, horrendous story. And with Bill de Blasio, the worst mayor in the United States history of any town, Bill de Blasio absolutely should be tied to a raft and floated up and down the seashore on the East Coast until all of a sudden the logs disappear. He's worthless. And for him basically to make a standing statement that the police have to stand down and take this garbage, I've said it before, and I really do not care who's offended by this. When you have police officers that are doing their job and walking their beat and making sure that people are protected, and they're assaulted by blacks or any other race with water buckets and throwing buckets at them, time to bring out the billy clubs and make good use of them.
Until that happens, the crime is going to escalate. People have no respect for the cops, and I'll tell you what, every time I hear about a cop going down, I'm aggravated.
Oh.
And I wish there were citizens like myself and you. If we had a gun, I wouldn't hesitate to help the cop.
Well, the whole thing is, I mean, there's no more respect for the police, and my goodness sakes, here's an officer making an arrest and handcuffing an individual for a crime. And the rest of the citizenry gather around and they start throwing buckets of water and the buckets after they're empty at the officer. It scares me to death to think what else could have been thrown instead of water. And they don't do a thing about it. And there's been other instances like this. Or they're walking back to their squad car and they're assaulted by these people with buckets of water, etc. I make no bones about it. Bring out the billy clubs, lay 1 or 2 of them on the sidewalk, and then say, you want more?
Yeah, a police officer nowadays never knows if he's going to return home at night to be with his family ever again. And this is really what's disgusting me.
Well, I just don't understand why we've turned into a society that lets violence, chaos, and people that absolutely are lawless run our society and run the communities, and we sit back and the police have to be subjected to this? No way. I don't care. It might take some people going down, and I mean literally going down, in order to start to rectify this problem, because you can't let it exacerbate to where it's an everyday occurrence in every major city in the United States.
Well, the police are afraid to pull their guns, the police officers.
True.
It's at the point now where they have to take the first bullet before they respond.
Yeah.
And this is another thing that bothers me. How many cops went down because they weren't able to pull their gun out on somebody that's already been using their gun to injure people?
I don't have any of the facts, figures, and records on what you're talking about, but I do have a lot of friends that are police officers across the United States in various cities, including New York. And I don't know how they're putting up with this. I don't know how they're having the patience. I don't know why they're subjecting themselves to this kind of low-class treatment. They've gone through the police academies. They are serving the public, and when there's a problem, the public dials 911. These are the gentlemen and ladies that are the first responders to try to help that business or help that person, but yet they're subjected to daily assaults by people that need to be stood up along a wall, handcuffed, and taken off for assault and battery.
I wonder what de Blasio's excuse is for these suicides by the police officer.
I don't know, but de Blasio, if anybody could look inside the mind of Bill de Blasio, which must be a vacant wasteland, I don't know what he's thinking, because he's not a very smart man. Tony, thank you very much for your call. I appreciate it.
You're welcome, Zeb.
All right, sir. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I just had a lady here a week or so ago call me on my cell phone and say, oh, well, you're advocating violence. Why, these poor people, they don't have a very good environment to live in, and they're just lashing out. I don't want to hear that liberal garbage. I don't believe it. I think all of us can succeed and be better if we try. I believe that. And to do what they're doing is a great sign of being completely irresponsible. Hey, I think you ought to pay attention to this next sale that's coming up by the Bennett boys. It's going to be this Saturday at 11 o'clock up in Fairfield. Now listen to this. If any of you out there are electric train enthusiasts, and you've got, it may be in your garage, the track and everything. I love electric trains and everything. They're going to have the Roger Paulson auction, and there is an amazing 70-year collection of all electric trains and all the accessories. Oh my goodness, I've got a picture of some of this. He's got a miniature city on all these different track locations he's built. Oh, it's amazing. And there's going to be packing equipment, shop equipment, all kinds of great things at this sale in Fairfield at 348 Winona Drive this Saturday at 11 o'clock. Lunch by the Cook Shack, Bennett Boys Auction Service. No sale too big, no sale too small. The Bennett Boys, they sell them all. Absolutely. All right, calls are welcome. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Oh, yeah, diversity. Oh, boy, let's have more. Oh, goody. Yeah, let's fragmentize our culture and bring in more. You know, I'm going to take some heat over this, and that's okay. But this story is just not one that I enjoy repeating. 2 Somali refugees were arrested in Arizona allegedly trying to board a flight to Egypt to join ISIS. Isn't that a nice, fuzzy, warm thought? Yeah. They were getting on a plane and they were arrested. And as the story goes, the U.S. Department of Justice announced yesterday, that 2 Somalis who had lived in the United States as refugees were arrested in Arizona last week before boarding a flight to Egypt where they allegedly planned to travel to join the ranks of ISIS. Why were they going to do this? Well, they wanted to come back to America and blow us up. Seriously. They wanted to learn all they could and join ISIS, and then they planned to carry out an attack in ISIS name right here in the United States. Man, that's nice and warm and comforting to think that we extended our hand. Hello, Mr. Refugee, come on in and live in our community and give you all the amenities and everything else. Oh, well, gee whiz, 2 of these people that have been handed everything, living in this greatest country ever, wanted to join ISIS and then come back and blow us up. Court documents said that both Mohammed and Hussein, there's a couple of real great names, Mohammed and Hussein entered the United States as refugees from Somalia. Mohammed had been granted lawful permanent resident status by the time he was arrested. Hussein still had refugee status. So for all the bleeding heart liberals out there going, oh, we got to be a safe haven for all these people. Uh-huh. They join ISIS and come back and kill us. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I want to remind you our weather forecast. We got to get into that real quick and then take some more calls, I hope. And the weather this hour brought to you by Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids, right behind the Minidoka Hospital across from the emergency room. And the number to call is 312-0957. They really care about the medical treatment for your hearing health, and there are many, many causes of hearing loss. And they're very proud to work with the Snake River ENT to provide a full range of hearing health services, now with 2 locations to help you. But please call, make an appointment for a hearing screening at 312-0957, Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. And right now, here's the weather.
A beautiful day is what's in store for us this Tuesday. Here's the Elixir weather forecast. We are expecting sunny skies and a high of 92, a little bit on the breezy side. Winds out of the southwest at about 10 miles an hour. For tonight, mostly clear with a low of 58. A few clouds roaming around for Wednesday, partly sunny skies. We are expecting a high of 92 with an overnight low of 60. And then as we hit Thursday, mostly sunny skies and 88. That's a look at your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch.
Thank you, Gina. And the weather brought to you this hour by Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. Wonderful people serving you and your hearing health. Number to call again, 312-0957. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Yes, Zeb, I didn't want to take up too much of your time before, but there's one other issue that bothers me. And this is the constant call for gun control. Now, how many people in these terrorist training camps have had background checks? Are they citizens of the United States? Are they allowed to have fully automatic weapons in their camps, RPGs and everything else to destroy us?
My fear...
Why isn't anybody invading those places to find out who's there legally or illegally?
Absolutely. My fear, and this goes back 3, 4, 5 years ago when Martin Moyer wrote that book called Twilight in America. And I know you're familiar with that book and you're familiar with Martin. I've had him on my program about 2 or 3 times. And I'm so glad you brought this up because he's also coming back on the show next week in regards to this subject. It's so easy for the left and the Democrats to point their finger at you and I, Mr. and Mrs. Gun Owner, trying to protect our property and our families that have never done anything wrong, and say we're going to confiscate your guns when there's a radical that goes out and shoots someone, like what happened with these 2 teenagers, and then also what happened back east and down south. These things are occurrences by crazy people that got a hold of a weapon, but yet the left wants to take in all our weapons and take away our Second Amendment. I am very, very wary of politicians that are trying to get complete control over us as a society.
Well, we need a few more Buford Pussers out there.
No, we need a lot more.
Yes.
All right. Tony, God bless you for your call. Appreciate it.
All right,
thank you. Yeah, it's scary what's going on right here internally in the United States. There are the training camps in upstate New York. I got pictures of them right here. There are the training camps in Texas. There are the training camps over in Oregon. And it's even been intimated that there have been some of the training camps here in the state of Idaho of people that want to hurt us. People that want to change our American value system, our Constitution, or America in general. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Yeah, first-time listener, just have a couple of questions for you. Which Democrats are saying that they want to take your guns away, or which Republicans, for that matter? I've never heard a politician say they want to confiscate all guns, and so I'm just curious as to which politician...
Wait a minute. Now, you've never heard that said, that they want the elimination or termination of the Second Amendment? You've never heard that by people like Cory Booker or Kamala Harris or others? Honestly, you've never heard that?
Honestly, I've never heard it stated quite like that. Gun control, yes. A lot of other things, yes.
Whoa, wait a minute. You said gun control. Ma'am, wait a minute. I want to make sure that we're on the same page. You said gun control, yes. What do you mean gun control, yes?
I can talk about my stuff if you would like, but I wanted to know from you which politicians have said that they would like to confiscate all guns across America.
Beto O'Rourke, Kamala Harris, and right on down the line, when they talk about going after any kind of weapons, assault weapons, can you give me a definition as to assault weapons, as to where the line would be stopped, as to where they might not even go after a .22 repeating rifle? That could be also under the assumption of being an assault weapon. And yes, O'Rourke, yes, Kamala Harris, yes, Cory Booker, all against gun ownership because they would love to see a total elimination of guns in our society. Now, why are you bringing this up? I'm curious.
I'm reacting to your statement.
Okay, in your reaction, I'm assuming by your...
Democrats want to take away all the guns in America.
There are.
I just don't, have not heard that, and how would that even be possible?
Well, ma'am, look at Germany.
No, I'm not looking at Germany. I'm looking at what you're saying.
No, don't come after me and say you're not going to look at Germany. The reason we need to look...
The whole audience and make a statement, you need to be able to clarify that statement when asked about.
I just did. I just did. I told you, and it's very proven.
Okay. One other thing I wanted to say, though, is that I find that you're a very articulate man, and you seem to have a good grasp on everything, but you lessen and cheapen your words when you call people names like Gumby and idiot and et cetera, because you're too intelligent for that type of talk.
All right, now wait a minute. Let me respond. You can't talk over me. I've got to have a give and take here, or it's not worth the call.
Okay.
Number one, there are nicknames for everyone in politics, and it's not just me. You can go right on down the list, and you can especially find any and all nicknames that are being asserted to all people in politics and or sports. When I said Gumby, it's a good analogy for Beto O'Rourke, the way he stands up and gyrates on kitchen counters and cafes, etc. I see that Gumby's a very mild name. I didn't say anything offensive. I just called him Gumby. Now, why would that be offensive to you?
Because he's got a name, and his name is not Gumby. And
well, his name's not Beto either.
Somebody a Gumby or an idiot or any of that stuff. It's like it's beneath you.
The idiocy of what's going on in this country will remain that terminology. Idiocy is what's controlling this country right now. We're losing our American values. We're losing the value of our Constitution. We're losing, through idiocy that's going on in politics, the value of right and wrong morally in our schools and our society. And I dare you to tell me I'm wrong.
I'll say that you're right, and you contribute to that.
I contribute to the idiocy?
You contribute to it.
How do I contribute to the moral breakdown?
Because you're denigrating people.
Oh, my goodness.
By calling them a name and saying that when you see somebody, they scare you, or her looks scare you, or she's an idiot, or...
No, I did not call... Don't put words in my mouth. Number one, I did not call Elizabeth Warren an idiot. I said she is the queen of kooks.
You called her an idiot. You said she scared you.
She does scare me. Her politics scare me. Her personality scares me. My God, lady, what do you want, a vanilla society?
Didn't say that. You said when you look at her, she scares you.
She does, and I'm going to continue to say that.
That scares you, say that.
So when I say that someone's looks scare me when she's on TV gyrating and looking at the cameras, saying that we have to go with the Paris Accord on climate change and everybody's going to lose a job that's involved in energy currently so that we can all sit there and watch windmills and solar panels, she does scare me.
Certainly her policies can scare you, but I don't know why her looks would scare you.
Oh, ma'am. Let's discontinue this, because if I can't say that someone scares me, look at Dracula in the movies in the 30s. Look at all the horror films. Didn't they, personalities-wise, scare you?
Not particularly, and none of them are running for office. So.
I think you might be wrong there. I believe they're all been reincarnated to run for office. Thank you for your call. I do appreciate it. Thank you. Well, I think she gave me my comeuppance, to a certain extent. Caller, I'll be right there. Stand by quickly. I want to remind everybody about our Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. And they, of course, have 7 great locations to serve you with the best and safest of driving tires for you to go from here to wherever and come back again safely. Absolutely the best in tires, the best in brake service, the best in front end alignment, shocks and struts, batteries, all of this, but the best of service. They really take care of you. They want to take care of you. And I urge you to stop in and see them today. Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, Daniel on Poline in Twin Falls, and Trent on Overland in Burley. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. And yes, my dear lady out there in Radio Land, Elizabeth Warren scares me. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Hey, Zeb. I kind of was hoping you'd let me arbitrate with her for just a minute, but that's all right. She wanted proof of our backup the statement that they're trying to take our guns away from us, our firearms, and leave us helpless, you want a modern-day look at Venezuela.
It's true.
They took away total control of their firearms, and guess what? Now they're dying.
Yeah.
It happened in Vietnam. It happened in China. It happened in North Korea. You get submissive to your government and let the government tell you how to live, you're going to die.
There you go.
It's been proven over and over again.
Riley, I got one other quick call to get in, and I do appreciate your comments as always. Thank you. Caller number 2, real fast, 30 seconds. Go.
Well, let me tell you something about the squad. If they were to somehow have gotten into power, any one of them, their intent is so overreaching. They would literally want to control everything we did everywhere. Free market capitalism wouldn't work. The economy would crash because what runs this economy is free market capitalism. If you don't know any better, then you need to get in your car and drive around and learn what people do. These business people, these self-starting, these self-sustaining business people that keep this country going. And America keeps the world going. The insanity, the ignorance is scary.
Absolutely. Hey, buddy, I appreciate it. We got to run to the news. And no, after giving it considerable thought, 30 seconds, I still maintain that Elizabeth Warren, Kamala Harris, and others, they scare me. It's going to remain that way. Their policies, their approach, etc., something to fear. I'll be back. Oh, good morning, and welcome back. Hour number 2, Zeb at the Ranch, and of course, we're very proud of our major sponsor, your Magic Valley, Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you with the best of safe driving tires. And of course, don't forget too, some of our great advertisers like Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. Right now, we're going to have a good word for Western Waste.
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho, we're always at your disposal. Western Waste Services, we care about our community, our resources, and this great land. Western Waste Services is lending a hand, always at your disposal. Western Waste Services.
I'll tell you, simply put, Western Waste Services will take care of your trash. They love your trash. Absolutely. All you've got to do to get on the route service is call them at 734-6969. They are always at your disposal. Need a dumpster in various sizes? I need the extra large to clean this office out. You just give them a call. They'll bring it out. You fill it up. They'll come and get it. Great people. 734-6969. Western Waste Services. Also, quickly want to remind you that on Wednesdays, of course, don't forget, we've got at 10:06 the Sportsman's Warehouse Old Fishing Hole with Josh Anderson out someplace in a stream or on a lake, whatever, fishing while he's talking to us. And that's brought to you by Sportsman's Warehouse, 1940 Bridgeview Boulevard in Twin Falls. Another great group, and they are a group. They're a wonderful group of family and staff at Hanson Mortuary with Joel Heward that we want to say thank you to this morning. Hanson Mortuary at 710 6th Street in Rupert, and of course, Joel and the staff, they provide the families they serve with the best possible support and comfort. And always, here's the key, always with the highest ethical standards, with unquestioned integrity. They care. All you need to do is remember the number to call, 436-5636. That number again, 436-5636. Hanson Mortuary in Rupert. And Joel also serving you and your family at Morrison Payne Funeral Home on East Main in Burley. Quick note, last hour, that phone call from the lady that was upset because I said that Elizabeth Warren scared me and her policies and everything. I respect that lady for calling. I want to say this because we have very, very few people on the left and or Democrats, or a combination of both, that will call into the program. So honestly, Deanna and I were talking during the news break. I thank her. Thank you. I'm glad to hear from somebody on that side of the fence. Thank you. Real quick, too, the Minidoka merchants that want you to be a part of the Minidoka County Fair include Magic Valley Carpet at 613 D Street. All your flooring needs, carpet, hardwood, vinyl, laminates, everything. And they wish you a lot of fun at the Minidoka County Fair and Rodeo from Magic Valley Carpet. And Scows at 323 East 8th Street in Rupert. Only locally owned and operated auto parts store in the Mini-Cassia area. And believe me, they've got everything for your autos with people that really know the automobile and truck business. You get a hold of them today. 70 years of serving in the local community. Scows in Rupert, wishing you a lot of fun at the Minidoka County Fair and Rodeo. I have our next gentleman ready to go, and I can't thank him enough for being weekly as a reservoir of information to come on this program and talk about energy. And he is with the American Energy Alliance, and he's been a friend of mine for a long time. Dan Kish, how are you, sir?
I'm fine, Zeb, and I hope you are as well.
I am, but I've got a question for you this morning, and I was thinking about this last weekend, and I thought, man, I can't wait to get Mr. Kish on the program so I can throw this question at him. Here it is. Why in the world should we, as an American populace, be concerned about spending billions with a B and billions, actually going into the trillions, to improve our infrastructure, our roads, our bridges, everything else, when, if any one of the Democrats gets into the presidency, they're going to try to take our cars away?
That's a great question, Zeb, because, that's theoretically, that's how you pay for such things, right? Gas tax. That's how we've always built our roads and bridges and the like. And, of course, they want to ban gasoline and, take trains to Europe and Hawaii and all kinds of other nonsense as part of this Green New Deal that they've been talking about. But at the end of the day, what they're really talking about is shutting off the whole user fee, if you will, that is supposed to fund these things. That while people complain about gas taxes, the general thrust is that most people think that that is at least fair because the people who drive on them use them, and the people who don't, at least that was the case until we started getting these electric cars on the roads. And we've got a lot of them back here in on the East Coast in the cities, but they're not paying any tax. Everybody else pays for them, and then they get subsidized on top of it.
Dan, last hour I had a lady call me, and she criticized me because I referred to many in politics with their political stance on certain issues as idiots. And quite frankly, this is another one of those segments where you can use the terminology idiots. These people do not think further than their nose about transportation systems for all the trucking, all the delivery of food, all the harvesting of food to go to processing plants, the cattle, etc. They don't understand all the trucking industry and the personal travel to go from point A to point B. I mean, you would be talking about relegating yourself back 200 years to the horse and buggy days. What in the world is the matter with us for even paying attention to these people?
Yeah, well, you mentioned idiots, and what's worse than them potentially being idiots, Zeb, in my book, is they think we're idiots. They think the American people are idiots. They think people are beneath contempt, and so they throw things out there that don't make any sense, that have no chance of making sense, in the hopes of buying a vote here or buying a vote there, or trying to get somebody to swallow what it is they're selling. But it's really that they think people are dumb. And I guess, especially in a lot of these cities, even though they may have fancy sheepskins hanging on a wall, they are pretty dumb because they buy into it. And then the places fall apart.
What I see, Dan, and of course I'm prejudicial in favor of rural America. I still think and always will think it's the backbone of our United States of America. And when you hear people talking like Kamala Harris, for example, about a restructuring and a rebuilding of the way we live in America, very vague terms, but you can get the gist of anti-rural living, we don't need rural living. You can all live in kind of a communal aspect in the larger cities where you can maybe get on a bus or ride your little trike or whatever. I'm seeing something that really, really is scary in the face of America not being progressive but being regressive, to where there's no respect for people that work and till the land to feed the masses. And how in the world are they going to do that without an effective, efficient energy program?
Well, that's right, Zeb. I mean, in essence, the energy that's produced in principally the rural areas of the country is the energy that keeps the lights on in those cities. It's the food that keeps them well fed. It's the backbone of the things, and moving that from one point to another is all part of the transportation challenge that we have in a country that's as big and as rich as ours. And these things all work together. But they look down their snouts, and meanwhile they have people defecating on the streets in these cities. It's amazing. I mean, anybody who's seen L.A. or 60,000 people on the streets of L.A. Living and without any indoor plumbing. I mean, we've succeeded in rural America for the most part having indoor plumbing, plumbing that works. In the cities, they've got tens of thousands of people living on the streets, not using basic sanitary approaches to life. And so the question is, well, what are they trying to structure? And I tend to agree with you. Even though I live in the city, I think folks who live out on the land and have appreciation for it are the backbone of America. Always have been.
I just look at our cities around America. And we got feedback there, Wheels. Watch that a little bit, please. I look at our cities in America, and it's easy to say, the crumbling infrastructure. But let's go outside the city limits. Let's leave L.A. and go up to Bakersfield, California. Let's go up to Clovis, California. Let's go through the entirety of the San Joaquin Valley. Let's move up to Idaho with all the roads necessary and the infrastructure to people to do their jobs, raise the crops, get the spuds, the sugar beets, the corn, the hay, everything, so that it's a viable product that can be bought and sold to help further American business. What are you going to do if all of a sudden you fix the infrastructure but then take away the automobiles and, quite frankly, fossil fuels to run them? What in the world are we going to do besides go back to the horse and buggy?
Well, if we were lucky enough to be able to do that, in reality, Zeb, the sort of approach that they talk about contemplates literally the death of people in the United States as a consequence. You can't run this country without the energy forms that we've got. That if we can, it's going to be decades and decades and generations in the future. It's required. It's part of what makes us go. It's what makes us competitive. And if we want to stay competitive, have better quality of life for our families, have opportunity for our kids and grandkids, we need the energy to be able to do it. and to do it right.
You know, we've got a call with a question, but I want to pursue this line of thinking just a little bit more momentarily. But caller, quickly, you're on the air. Go ahead, please.
Well, my daughter had never been to Portland, and she flew over there to see her friend, and she didn't understand what a homeless mess was, and she was shocked. She just couldn't get over it, and I said, well, it's coming our way if we don't straighten up. Twin Falls, Idaho, where we're close to, is getting about close to 50,000. At 50,000, the Agenda 21 kicks in, and they make you start doing things that you really shouldn't do because they're not practical. But because you've got all this Agenda 21 and the United Nations, and that's in our lives, and there's no stopping it. And the mayor of Twin Falls, he acts like he's some sort of an enlightened liberal, and there are homeless living in the canyon, Rock Creek Canyon, that nobody even knows about. But they're down there, and it's going to get worse. I think the Twin Falls is going to be worse if we don't watch it than Boise, which is way bigger. I'll hang up.
Respond to the caller, if you would, please, Dan.
Well, I don't know that much about the Twin Falls area, but I'll take your listeners' point on it. The fact of the matter is, the place where we have these homeless problems are in the urban areas. They're in areas of immense wealth, and they've hollowed out the middle class by sending all jobs abroad. They hollow out the middle class, and you're left with very, very poor and very, very wealthy.
Yeah.
And never the twain shall meet, and that's the way it seems to work in these so-called progressive urban centers. Zeb.
You know what really bothers me, Dan, and that's why I value you being on this program, because of your background and what you work with daily. It's so easy for the Democrats, be it Cory Booker or Kamala Harris or Joe Biden or Elizabeth Warren, to go out and condemn, well, we got to get rid of fossil fuels. Everybody's got to have an electric car. Okay, fine. What are we going to do with all the batteries from those electric cars? What are we going to do with a lack of road tax on those electric cars? How are you going to refurbish the infrastructure? I mean, there's so many questions that they don't answer, and then they'll come out and say, well, the American public just got to go and invest in buying a brand new car. You tell that to the guy that can't buy shoes for his kids or buy an ice cream cone for his kids every now and then, that he has to go buy a new car. Tell me how dumb that is.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is the whole point. They never have to answer. Partly this is the fault of the media, which is also, the upper elites in these urban areas, Washington, New York, L.A. They don't come that much in contact with people that are hurting, and they do very well. Thank you very much, and ultimately, they don't understand these things. These aren't people that know how to fix an engine on a car or do anything like that. That's never been part of their life existence, and they don't have an appreciation for the fact that while it may be fun for them to have the latest electric car, it doesn't fit the needs of somebody who's trying to haul their kids to school or haul groceries home or move livestock, for that matter.
Well, you know, Dan, we got a caller waiting, but I just want to say you've touched on something else as another point. We're looking at, with these people, and I called some of them kooks and crackpots, and quite frankly they are, because they haven't thought further than their nose. We're looking at people that want to change society to where you and I, if we don't have a bicycle, and we're not fit and able maybe to walk to a certain location, what are we going to do with our society that's basically immobile and they can't leave, they can't afford to sell their property? Who's going to buy it? Where are they going to go? I mean, we're talking about total chaos.
Well, yeah, and deliberately driving up the cost of energy kills urban America or rural America, Zeb, as you know. I mean, we just have to cover more ground when you're out in America moving things around. So all of these things are things they don't think about. They simply pass over and make it sound good because they saw it on TV or something. Without it ever having been thought through. It's as though you went out and said, we're going to invent the internal combustion engine, and somebody said, what's that? And they said, we'll get to it when we get to it. That's not how it works.
We've got a caller with a quick comment. Go ahead, caller. You're on the air. Fast, please.
Yeah, so Randy was right. So President Trump in knocking down Baltimore and Elijah Cummings, so President Trump was right, huh?
Wait a minute. What are you saying, caller?
Well, Randy brought up the fact that, it's coming our way with Twin Falls. I said, so in other words, President Trump is right in his knocking down Elijah Cummings and his Baltimore.
Well, I don't know where that's got to do with energy in our conversation, but I'll stand up and I'll just say, yeah, absolutely he's right. It's the fault of the so-called leaders of various areas that have allowed this escalation of the problem with the filth and the rodents, etc. But it also falls back on the people that live there. People have got to take their own responsibility and pull them up by their own bootstraps. They can't just look to government all the time to be the way to pay for everything.
My point exactly. Thank you.
You bet. Thank you. That leads us to another thing that could be related somewhat to energy, Dan, is that when these major cities, they're always saying, well, we've got to have money for this and we've got to have money for that. We've got to have money for all the trash trucks to pick up the trash and everything. Yes, they do. But a lot of it, Dan, falls back on personal responsibility. Clean up your own area. Keep it clean. Keep it to the point where you don't have a rat-infested neighborhood.
But when the government... When people begin to get the idea that the government is God, if you will, that government is family, that government is there to provide everything for you, it's really easy to stop taking care of those things yourself, Zeb.
I agree.
And so in many respects, I don't necessarily fault the people. I fault the politicians who've pushed this agenda on people and made them, in essence, dependent upon the government.
Yeah, but then...
sort of have lost it along the way.
But there's a but there. The people are the people that elected those dolts to office.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Well, that goes right back to what we were talking about in terms of them thinking that people are idiots. And in some cases, the way they got into office was by them thinking, perhaps correctly, that they were idiots because they were able to promise things to people that people who might say, wait a minute, I'm from Missouri here, show me.
Yeah.
Would have said, I don't know how you're going to do that. That doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make sense to say we can run our country on a magical energy that doesn't exist, or rather than the things that we have that God gave us that are right under our own feet for the asking.
Dan, we've only got 1 minute left. I'm going to ask you a question that's just purely your opinion. But where are we right now on energy and the future? I'm very concerned that the left is getting more of a toehold and creating more of a hold on the American society with all the, we're going to die and burn up in climate change. Get rid of your car. Buy a bicycle. Where are we in your opinion?
Well, the nation itself is doing very well, Zeb. I mean, we're producing more energy than we ever had before, and we have a lot more where that came from. And the president has lifted the chains from energy producers in order for them to be able to do that, and has cut back on a lot of regulation. On the other hand, I just, to be perfectly honest with you, we've had government schools that have been preaching to a whole generation now of people. Not that our air is getting cleaner and our water is getting cleaner, which it is, and not that our environment and our quality of life or that our life expectancy is getting longer, all of which are true. but rather that things are getting worse. And it's a big lie, and they've been preaching it. I think a lot of them even believe it. And that has consequences for the future. So in our own families, we need to talk up the facts as we see them, that things have gotten better. We're living longer. We're living better lives. And there's no reason to clutch our pearls and wet our pants about the way things are headed in the country.
I will take your words of wisdom and hold them dearly. Thank you very much. A great, great friend of this program with the American Energy Alliance. He'll be back next Tuesday. Dan Kish, my friend, have a great week. Thank you.
Thank you, Zeb. You too.
All right, sir. Thank you very much. Always enjoy having Dan on the program. Thank you very much. Hey, don't forget, lots of good things going on over at Lee's Furniture, Floors and More, 459 Overland in Burley. Holy moly! They're having a closeout on some of the flooring, and they've got some carpet that's really, really economical. You need to get in and look at for the installation in your home. They've got some mattresses that are 50% off. You're going to save a lot of money and get a better night's sleep. All of this and more. Stop in to where they want to help you with the beautification and comfortization of your home. Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More. You stop in and see Jeff and the crew today. Great people at 459 Overland in Burley. Real quick, I urge you to get outside and enjoy. Look at that over there. Look at this up here. My goodness, get up on the trails and enjoy all the great outdoors on a side-by-side or a four-wheeler, or check out all the watercraft on the lakes and the rivers. What am I talking about? Let's ride. 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World. Oh, my goodness. They're open Monday through Friday, 9 to 6, Saturdays, 9 to 4. Great accessory department and a super service department to keep you running. All of this at Let's Ride. 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World, and it is true. This is where the fun is sold. Absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, let me check with my engineer real quick. Do we have Mr. Razzulli on the phone? Wheels?
Yes, sir, he is.
I appreciate that, Wheels. Thank you very much. I'm very honored to have this gentleman. He's been on my program in the past, and I'm looking forward to our conversation this morning. And I'd like to say a good morning to Mr. Al Razzulli. How are you, sir?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you, sir?
I am great, and I thank you for taking the time to come on my program and discuss some things that need to be discussed, because I think that the American public is being duped into accepting some of these groups and policies. And I'm going to start, first of all, with Islam. I am not afraid to speak up and say that radical Islam, I think, is getting more than a toehold here in this country with various groups and factions. And I think a lot of the policies of radical Islam are becoming stronger and stronger, not only in government, but also in our education system, etc. Do you agree with my allegations?
100%, except for the word radical. In Islam, there are no shades. When people speak about radical Muslims, militant Muslims, moderate Muslims, or extremist Muslims, it's because they don't know the Quran. In the Quran, there is only one type of Muslim, a jihadi Muslim, what you call radical. But in reality, this is what it is. You know, ISIS, everybody was saying that ISIS is an abnormality. In reality, they are wrong. ISIS is the most perfect Islamic entity. It is more perfect than Osama bin Laden, for the simple reason. While Osama bin Laden followed the Quran word by word, ISIS followed the Quran and Muhammad's Sunnah letter by letter, dot by dot, and comma by comma. Back to you, sir.
You know, Mr. Rassouli, I'm sitting here and I'm worried about the naivete of the American public. Now, there are those that criticize me and say that I need to become more modernized in my thinking. But here we are welcoming people from all over the world, refugees from Somalia and other places that have taken over cities like Minneapolis, Minnesota, and turned them into what they left. And it's become very dangerous in various areas. And then we saw 2 Somali refugees in Arizona try to board a plane to go to Egypt to join ISIS, learn, and come back and possibly blow up us and part of America. I mean, why am I the only one that seems to be crying in the wilderness saying, hey, watch out, watch what's going on, and the American media seems to downplay me?
No, you are not the only one, but there aren't many of you. There aren't many of me. And the news media, with all due respect to the president, they're not fake news only. They are the enemies of the American people. They have never told the American people any truth in 60 years. Look, I don't want to waste your time. In less than 100 seconds, I shall destroy Islam. Will you give it to me?
Yeah, absolutely, sir.
Okay. Let me elaborate for the people who are listening. Dear Americans, having spent over 30 years studying, researching, comparing and contrasting the subjects of Muhammad, his Quran, his Sunnah, Arab and Islamic imperialism, etc., the following conclusions are indisputable, irrefutable, and incontrovertible, no matter how unconventional or even outrageous they may sound to clueless, politically correct dimwits. The most egregious lies that have ever been insinuated into the human consciousness by Muslims and their apologists are that Allah is the same as the God of the Bible. The Quran was revealed by Muhammad by Allah. Islam is an Abrahamic religion. Muhammad was a prophet. Islam means peace. Jihad is a spiritual struggle to commune with God. Hijab is mandated in Muhammad's Quran. Islamophobia is irrational fear of Muslims. And last but not least, that the Quran was divinely revealed. Thus, based entirely upon the Islamic sources, the following are also irrefutable. A, since every Muslim is Sharia compliant, then every Muslim is the eternal and mortal enemy of every non-Muslim human being called kuffar infidels, currently comprising 80% of humanity, of all Christians, Buddhists, Hindus, Jews, atheists, agnostics, pagans, etc. B, it is impossible, and I repeat the word impossible, for any Sharia-compliant Muslim to be both a good Muslim and a loyal citizen among non-Muslim kuffar infidels. C, therefore, no Sharia-compliant Muslim can ever integrate, assimilate, or be a loyal citizen among non-Muslims kuffar in less than 100 seconds. I have utterly discredited Muhammad as a prophet and the alleged divine origin of his Quran. And I challenge any listener the sum of $200,000 to prove anything I have just revealed as either wrong or untrue. Back to you, sir.
Mr. Rassouli, you bring up some excellent points, and I'm so appreciative that you are speaking freely and openly on this program about this subject. But my question to you would be, whether it's our congressmen, whether it's our senators, or whether it's any and all political leadership in this country, or our education systems, or anything, why today more than ever before are we, the United States of America, more open and acceptance to Islam and its principles, which in essence are going to come back to bite us?
Because for 60 years, your education system was destroyed by leftists, by globalists, who indoctrinated generation after generation of students, Americans, into not being patriotic, into not loving America. In fact, they were not even educated in the Constitution of the United States of America or the history of America. This is what happened. They undermined the United States of America. This is the globalist agenda. And the globalists, they think, in their stupid mind that they will be able to control Islam. It is impossible. I repeat the word impossible to control Islam by logic. That doesn't work.
Let me ask you.
I mean, I'll ask you a question. Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib swore allegiance to the American Constitution on the Quran. But that's an oxymoron. That's a contradiction in terms. The Quran is the nemesis of the American Constitution. Yet, not a single member of over 500 people in Congress stood up and said, but you are traitors. You know what? If I were an American citizen, I would go to Congress and I would call them a traitor, and I'll tell you what, nobody in America, nobody in the world will be able to prove me wrong. It's impossible.
Absolutely.
Why? Because I'm using the Quran as a basis. I'm not using my thoughts. I'm not using my emotions. I am using the words of the Quran to prove my point. Back to you, sir.
What does it tell you, Mr. Rassouli, when you look at American politics and you look at the Ilhan Omars and the Rashida Tlaibs and the Alexandria Ocasio-Cortezes, etc., four young women that basically are leading the rest of the Democratic Party by the nose, and I mean that, right over a cliff. What does it tell you about American politics and the Democratic Party that they would be accepting those principles that they're trying to promote against the American Constitution?
Dear listeners, I'm an outsider looking in. I'm in Europe. I have no axe to grind. But I'll tell you this. 47% of the American public is brain dead. Those who support the Democratic agenda. They're 100% brain dead. But there's another 47%, the patriots who support Donald Trump. The ones who will decide the future of the United States of America will be 6% of the population. If we can swing the 6% towards Trump, the Democrat Party will not be elected again for maybe another 40, 50 years. The tragedy in America is not just ignorance, cowardice. It is cowardice not to stand up and be counted. It's nothing to do with ignorance. I cannot call any human being in the 21st century ignorant. Why? Because I associate ignorance with people who can't read and write or have no access to information. Yet we have more access to information, to greater amount of information than ever in the history of humanity. So for somebody to say, I'm ignorant, sorry, no, you're stupid. You're not ignorant. You're not willing to spend the time to research. I get angry, I'll tell you why, because I'm scared. If America goes down, the whole of Western civilization goes down. Think about it. The tragedy is Americans are not even thinking about their children and their own grandchildren. You are bequeathing to your children and grandchildren a disaster by not standing up. A disaster. If somebody calls you a racist, tell them yes, and I'm proud. Why am I proud to be a racist? Because every human being on the planet is automatically, by biology, a racist. What does a racist mean? Somebody who hates another person or fears another person because of color, or because of belief, because of political point of view, because of height, because of gender. Everybody is a racist. One way or the other, every human being is a racist. We are not only tribal, we are territorial. If somebody comes within 3 feet of me, and I don't know them, and they're coming face to face to me, I would kill them. Because I don't expect them to be doing something good for me. Do I sound like a madman? No. It's survival. It's not survival of the fittest. No. It's survival instinct. Every animal in the animal kingdom, they have territory. They pee to designate their area, so somebody else will not come in. And yet the Democrats, all those elites who live in palaces with security guards, with arms, with fences and doors and gates, say open door for the people to come to America. No other nation on earth, not a single nation on earth, is allowing its borders to be corrupted like this. Not one. Can you imagine somebody going into China without authorization? Or to India? Or to Russia? Or to Israel? They will be shot down. This is the law. You come legally. Fine. People are spending hundreds, tens of thousands of dollars and years waiting in line to come. How is that possible that they are the same as the illegals? And yet, in the warped mind of the leftists, of the 47% Americans who are brain dead, it's all right. The legal and the illegal are the same. They are not the same. They can't be the same because immoral and unjust. What do you think?
Everything you said is something that needed to be said today and previously. And so my question to you is this. I may seem a little naive on this, so please help enlighten me. I would say that all of this problem with Islam, the Muslim Brotherhood, and our fears about their involving in our country really started back at the beginning of the Obama administration in 2008. And nobody would speak up. No one would question, no one would say a word, and they had basically a free roll to grow in this country, and that's what scares me. I don't know how we can stop it at this point.
It's very simple. First of all, you are 100% right. Second of all, I have always said, if somebody doesn't believe me, go to my website and go to my talk shows. I've had them for 12 years. I always said that Obama was a Muslim. He proved he was a Muslim on two errors in two interviews. He proved it beyond a shadow of a doubt. One of them was with Stephanopoulos. When he said, and he said it in English, I'm so pleased that John McCain has not addressed my Muslim faith. Stephanopoulos told him Christian. So he said Christian. That was a Freudian slip of the tongue. But all the media pooh-poohed it and overlooked it. The only person, as far as I know, in the United States of America today who understands the threat of Islam is Donald Trump and his supporters. The only people. Donald Trump and his supporters. But even then, he is constrained by the idiots who are against him. They're not only idiots, they're criminals. Any American who advocates open borders should either be put in a mental asylum or removed from the country. It sounds like a draconian. Well, yes. Why not? If they want open borders, that's draconian. I should use exactly the same forces. Draconian rules. You can always stop Islam by proving beyond a shadow of a doubt that every single mosque is a territory for terrorism. Every single mosque. Not only in America. In every mosque they teach one thing. Quran. And what does the Quran say? In chapter 2, 216, the Quran says that every single Muslim can only be a true Muslim by being a jihadi. You don't believe me? Google chapter 2, 216. I never tell it a lie because I don't have to. I don't have to twist anything, pervert anything, or take anything out of context. The fact and reality, it took me 30 years to come to a simple conclusion. That the Quran and Hadith self-destruct. Why? Because Allah is not God. And since the whole of the Quran says that Allah is the same as the God of the Bible, the instant you can prove beyond a shadow or even a reasonable doubt that Allah cannot possibly be the same as the God of the Bible, the Quran and Islam is eradicated. Don't take my word for it. Just Google it. I have it on the internet. By the way, it's all free of charge. I have my books, but I don't always advertise them because I don't care about, it's not money. I care about educating people. And everything I'm talking about now is on the internet. And after 10 years, I had $1.5 million. I repeat it, ladies and gentlemen. For the last 10 years, I have had $1.5 million worth of challenges to every human being to prove anything I said wrong. So far, I haven't lost a dime, and I never expect to lose a dime. What do you think, sir?
Let me ask you this final thought, Mr. Rassouli, and I want to tell you how much I appreciate your, again, being on my program. I've only got 2 minutes left. But of all the hot spots in the world today, i.e. China, i.e. North Korea, i.e. Russia, and then, of course, the Middle East with Iran and a leadership that really doesn't act like they care at all about humanity or the furtherance of humanity, only for themselves. How worried are you with Iran, with the other players? Is that going to be the hot spot that's a danger zone for the future?
No, let me put it this way. The immediate danger to the Western civilization is Islam, starting with Iran. The second danger to America will be China in maybe the middle of the and the end of 21st century. Russia is not an important item. They always, the Democrats are always telling him about Russia. Russia is not irrelevant. Believe me, Russia is irrelevant. The greatest threat to America will be China, not Russia. And, by the way, they are a threat to Russia also. Because if you put the powers of Russia and America and Europe together, China will be greater. Because they have 1.3 billion people. America is 330 million. Russia is 270 million. Europe is 300 million. Not enough. Believe me. The first category of destruction and to stop them is Islam. First one. And then worry about China. Russia is not a threat. Doesn't matter what anybody says. Russia is not a threat. And anytime you want me back on yours, just email me.
You can bet that there will be emails from my office to yours, and I want to tell you how much I appreciate your honest, candid answers. Mr. Al Rassooli, God bless you, sir. Be safe, and please come back in the future.
Anytime you call me, I'll be back. God bless you. You take care.
Thank you, sir. Wow. I really appreciate that man being on my program. And the parameters of getting him on this program were a little bit tough. And I will say this, nobody knows where he is, for obvious reasons. Nobody knows where he's calling from. Nobody knows where he's calling home, as a matter of fact. But the gentleman is as straightforward and honest and was recommended to me by many people that know him, including my dear friend, National Security Analyst Daniel Perkins. And you won't find a more straight shooter than Mr. Al Rassooli, and I appreciate that. Time for the weather. I do my best on this program to give you every single person that I can find, a number, an email, whatever, to get on my show, and give it the information that you should know that's going on, not just here in Magic Valley or the state of Idaho, or for that matter, the United States, but what's going on in the world from people that want to hurt us and basically stop, cripple, and curtail our way of living. Weather forecast brought to you by Phillips Oaks Goodwin Crane and Company. I guess before I do my ad here, I want to kind of go back to the first hour with that lady that criticized me. You know, there are idiots in the world. There are idiots in politics. There are idiots that don't belong in the public square because of their absolutely moronic viewpoints in destroying America and our value system. I will not weaken on that for anyone at any time. I feel better now. Time for the weather. Phillips Oaks Goodwin Crane and Company, providing accounting services to the Mini-Cache area for well over 50 years with the best, underline the word best, the best in tax return preparation, tax planning, financial statement preparation, retirement planning, all of this and so much more for you, your family, and your business. With offices in Burley and Rupert, don't forget Phillips Oaks Goodwin Crane and Company. And right now, here's Gina with the weather.
A beautiful day is what's in store for us this Tuesday. Here's the Elixir weather forecast. We are expecting sunny skies and a high of 92, a little bit on the breezy side, winds out of the southwest at about 10 miles an hour. For tonight, mostly clear with a low of 58. A few clouds roaming around for Wednesday, partly sunny skies. We are expecting a high of 92 with an overnight low of 60. And then as we hit Thursday, mostly sunny skies and 88. That's a look at your weather forecast for Zebeth Durant.
Gina, great job. Thank you. And once again, brought to you this hour by the people that really care and the people that can help you. And that's Phillips Oaks Goodwin Crane and Company. Accounting services to the Mini-Cache area for over 50 years. The best serving you. Phillips Oaks Goodwin Crane and Company. Wow. Coming up at 10:06, of course, we've got our old compadre, and that's Dr. History. And he just walked in, and I can't wait to hear what he's going to have on the program for us this morning, and we'll look forward to that. Let me see, what other news notes did I have real quick that I wanted to get on? We talked a little bit about diversity and how wonderful diversity is. We're going to be doing a segment this next week on diversity, Boise State University, all the hubbub that's come up, and we're just going to hit it right smack dab in the face. Hit right in the nose and get all the information, and I'm lining up some guests to talk about those subjects this next week. And we're not going to run from any issue. I'm not going to run from any individual or any group. There have been people that are saying, whoa, you're really taking on Idaho Power. You know, they're pretty big. You know, I don't care how big the group or person is. In the case of Idaho Power, as you know, we've been fighting with them for over 2 weeks because they had a lack of bravery, if you will, to come on the program and answer questions. And basically it acts like they're being very clandestine and very arrogant, and they are, and very cowardly. And that's how we're going to address them until they come to their senses and realize the general public, me included, as a ratepayer, has every right to ask questions about what they're doing with green energy, what they're doing with even cloud seeding or any other issue where you, the public, are involved and or as a ratepayer paying the bill. I'm not going to weaken on that. And until they crawl out from underneath their desk and act like adults, we're going to keep hammering them. I want to remind you, too, about our friends over at Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. Oh, they are so dedicated and responsive and very thoughtful about taking care of you, your family, and your business with your insurance coverage, life insurance, health insurance. They want to make sure that everything is taken care of, everybody's covered. Please make an appointment today. It's easy. All you have to do is call 436-4424. That number again, 436-4424. Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
You know, in some of my investigations, I asked a question to a person at Idaho Power, and I said to them, he tried to tell me there were business owners around Twin Falls that were in favor of what they're doing, and I said, well, that doesn't strike me as true at all. I said, I can't imagine who you're talking about. And then it weaseled out of his mouth. It turns out there was only one, Chobani. And Chobani, you know, got a sweetheart deal, and they're very much involved with liberal thinking, and the whole, they're on board. Chobani was the only one.
You know, it bothers me that we have sacred cows in our society, as any society does. Oh, don't touch them. Oh, don't talk about them. Oh, don't say anything that might cause them to have a bad light in the community. I don't care, because if somebody needs scrutiny, we're going to give it to them on this program.
You know, it's, you know, I mean, you know, you're going to be fair and objective, and then the people who are listening who disagree with you, me, whatever, they're going to laugh. They're not fair. Well, I don't know. Is it true what you say? Yes.
Yeah.
Do you lie to me like CNN and MSNBC does every day? They lie. They've been lying for 2.5, 3 years about everything.
Well, everything I put on this program is going to remain very transparent, and with the thanks of listeners like you, I really appreciate all your effort and all your help. I got to run to the news right now, Randy, but we're going to talk about this first thing tomorrow morning. Thank you very much. God bless you. Dr. History is here, and his staff, all of his people that rolled out the red carpet, are taking a little break in the heat, and he is also by drinking my water. And we'll be back with Dr. History in just a few minutes. Wheels, take it away. Oh, man, I'll tell you what, we have had some outstanding guests on the program already this morning and many more to follow, especially one of the great, great people of Magic Valley coming up in just a few minutes ago. Is there anything I forgot to read on your card? But we're going to have Dr. History here in just a moment. Right now, I want to remind everybody about Patterson's 421 East Main in Burley. Hello, Curtis and Lorena, and they've got everything, all your electronic needs. You just go in there, stand in one spot, and just let your head turn left to right, right to left, everything. Soak up everything they've got, all the televisions from Samsung, Sony, Toshiba, LG TVs, everything. All the car stereos and speakers, all the video surveillance cameras, all the home theater systems. Woo! Your head is spinning. They've got everything right there at Patterson's, 421 East Main in Burley. They're open Monday through Saturday, 9 to 6 at Patterson's in Burley, 678-6997. Also, I want to remind you about our dear, dear friends at Dino Septic Service. I know Dr. History agrees with me on hot days like this. You don't want to be out there pumping a septic tank. No! But they do. Dino Septic Service. They love doing that. That's their job. Septic tank pumping, liquid waste removal, sewer and sink drain lines cleaned. Oh, my! Backhoe services. They do it all. And they have recently expanded to better serve you. Call them at 436-6526 or 678-1638. The best. Dino Septic Service with the big truck that says smells cargo on the way. Dino's Septic Service. Funny how this is going to be a great segue. Dino Septic Service, and here's Dr. History.
I think I should be offended, but I'm not sure.
Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize.
Okay.
Not really.
All right. How are you today, Zeb?
I am peachy wonderful, and we started fair season. Minidoka County Fair is going on. Oh, there's nice people over there.
Yeah, and Cassia County coming up, and it's a fun time of the year.
And you, of course, with your... You better bring one here to the house this year. I'm counting on you because you were lax last year and let me down. I want a maple bar with bacon.
I'll see what I can do.
You started a trend.
I know.
What do we got?
Today we're going to talk about the hanging judge of Fort Smith, Charles Isaac Parker.
Really?
The hanging judge.
Was it Fort Smith or Fort Worth?
Fort Smith.
Really?
Yep.
Okay.
So the time period is right after the Civil War. The Indian Territory, which actually is kind of present-day Oklahoma, it was known as, quote, Robber's Roost. It was a great place for assorted bandits, cutthroats, killers, generally just bad people were happy to be there.
Sounds like Washington, D.C.
But it was freedom from the restraints of the law. In this area, bounded by Texas, Kansas, and Arkansas, there were only Indian towns, Indian police, and Indian courts. Now, the Indian courts had no jurisdiction over white men, or even over an Indian who maybe has served as a white man's accomplice. So instead, jurisdiction belonged to the Court of the United States for the Western District of Arkansas, and it was presided over in the early 1870s by an incompetent, corrupt weakling with a tendency for accepting bribes, and during his brief tenure, more than 100 murders occurred in the territory. So this guy was supposedly supposed to be a judge.
Who was this? No, the name?
Didn't make a name.
They didn't name him?
No, but he was obviously made a lot of money on bribes, but never did bring people to justice.
I see.
So, in dealing with this outrageous situation, President Ulysses S. Grant, a man not generally known for his good judgment, and I'm quoting this from the book, okay, or his wise appointments for once came up with exactly the right man for the job. His name, Charles Isaac, or they called him Ike, Parker.
Really?
He appointed him to the federal bench at Fort Smith, which is actually on the very border of Arkansas and Indian Territory. Now, Parker at this time was only 36 years old at the time. He had already enjoyed a pretty good career as a prosecuting attorney, a circuit court judge, and in his private life he was cheerful, outgoing, he loved kids, he was devoted to civic duties such as service on the school board. In his public life, he proved to be more than equal to the task that was assigned to him. Now, this is where he gets his reputation. In his 21 years at Fort Smith, Parker tried more than 13,000 people in his court.
13,000?
13,000. He often worked 6 days a week from 8 o'clock in the morning until it got dark. Of this 13,000 people, nearly 3/4 were convicted, and of this group, 344 were convicted of crimes that carried the death penalty. Now, of these unfortunate 344, Parker sentenced 172 to hang, 88 eventually died on the gallows, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that.
Eventually, you said hang and then eventually died on the gallows. What's the difference?
Well, they didn't all go to hang.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so Parker held court in the first floor of a 2-story brick building that had once served as a barracks and was located inside the military post. In the basement below the courtroom was a filthy, stinking, rat-infested jail.
Sounds like Baltimore.
Which soon became so crowded that he had to have a new jail constructed. And thanks to his overactive enforcement policies, the new jail was quickly filled to overflowing.
Wow.
So they were arresting all kinds of people everywhere and all over and bringing them into it.
What did the crimes range from that he would take before the bench?
I don't know. I'm assuming just anything.
Really?
I mean, from cattle rustling to thieving to stealing to robbery to anything.
Okay.
So now, here's what he did, though. To keep the jails full, Parker employed a small army of officers to wander around in more than 70,000 acres of Indian territory and to locate, arrest, and bring in the criminals they found. So, more than 200 deputy marshals worked for Parker, so you can see how the jail could have filled up.
Was there any legal representation for the accused?
I don't know. I don't know. But it was dangerous work because over the years, out of these 200 guys, these deputy marshals, 65 of the deputies died in the performance of their duties.
Wow.
So it was, it's kind of sort of like an official bounty hunter kind of deputy marshal type person.
Yeah.
But here's what they did. They worked on a fee-based system that paid them 10 cents a mile one way for serving papers or bringing in a prisoner. For serving a warrant, they were paid $2.50. Guardsmen who accompanied the deputies were paid a flat rate of $2 a day. Deputies were allowed to supplement their incomes by collecting fines for small offenses, and some, unfortunately, a little better than the criminals they were sent to apprehend. They kind of exploited this source of funds. I mean, if you're out in the middle of nowhere and this guy comes up and is going to arrest you and you say, hey, I got $20 I'll give you if you'll just turn the other way.
I got a question for you, and you know everything.
Yes.
10 cents a mile reimbursement. How would they figure that?
They had odometers on their saddles. I don't know how they, as the crow flies, as the wagon. You
should have thought of that.
And I think I did say years ago on the Oregon Trail, they had wagons that had a gear-driven system of counting the revolutions of the wheel.
Yeah.
So I'm going to guess they must have, I don't know how they figured that. But because they were always on horseback.
I will not interrupt you again.
So anyway, this habit was not the sort to create a climate of goodwill among even the law-abiding citizens of the territory, such as there were. Many of Parker's deputies traveled in groups of 4 or 5 for their own protection. As you see, a lot of them still got killed. And they took with them, here's what they did. They had a wagon that served as shelter, arsenal to carry all their ammunition, and a portable jail in this wagon. Okay, can you picture that?
No.
And for when and they actually some of the prisoners got wounded in the course of the activity, so they got to ride in the wagon. Now, the healthy prisoners were forced to walk.
Oh, boy.
You know, why not? You know, they're not going to get away if they're walking. So the deputies like to keep the prisoners healthy, and they rarely shot to kill unless absolutely necessary. And this was not because they were kind. The deputies were paid an arrest fee for living prisoners, but nothing for a corpse. Didn't do any good to bring in a dead person, unless the victim happened to be wanted dead or alive. Then it was okay to shoot him. Now,
you're kind of a cold individual, aren't you?
Quite often, the deputies would even force the witnesses to a crime to travel to Fort Smith with them to get ready for the trial. Now, knowing that it would be difficult, if not impossible, to locate them later, this was another practice not calculated to endear the deputies to the respectable residents of the territory. In other words, if you're out 200 miles away and some guy gets caught and there's some witnesses and you're saying, okay, you need to come to Fort Smith to testify, that's not going to go over real well.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So anyway, Parker earned his reputation as the hanging judge almost as soon as he began his work in Fort Smith. Now, had the 88 hangings for which he was responsible been spread out over his entire judgeship, they might not have caused that much of a commotion. After all, the average was only a little more than 4 a year, so it really wasn't a lot of hangings, really. Unfortunately, the hangings sometimes came in batches, though, and in the first session of Parker's court, 91 defendants appeared before him, 15 were convicted of murder, and 8 were sentenced to hang. One of the 8 had his sentence commuted to life imprisonment and was later pardoned, and another was shot in his attempt to escape. The remaining 6 went to the gallows together, all 6.
Really?
To the gallows. And we're going to talk about that a little. And what a very, very nice gallows it was.
Really?
Nice. 20 feet long with a crossbeam of a 12-inch timber. It was roomy. You know, you don't want to crowd people, right?
Is that what that says? Is it was roomy?
Yeah, it does.
Oh, my.
It was roomy and strong enough to accommodate 12 men, though 6 were the most ever to swing at one time.
Oh.
So, you know, it was capable of doing a lot.
Do you have a picture of that in that book?
I don't. But the newspapers estimated that as many as 5,000 people crowded the streets of Fort Smith, which only had a population of 2,500, arriving in wagon loads from 40 and 50 miles away to view the grisly spectacle of the hanging.
Let me ask you about that. In some of the old westerns, you hear about how they used to have picnics and all that kind of stuff the day of the hanging.
True.
What was the matter with our society that they would look at something like a hanging as kind of a festival?
I don't know. But you know, it was a spectacle, I guess. They figured, I don't know, maybe if someone thought, this guy deserves to die, I want to see him die.
Yeah, I
don't
guess.
know. So anyway, at precisely 9:30 in the morning, the 6 men were marched onto the scaffold after a brief ceremony which included the singing of hymns, you know, and the last words of the condemned men. The trap was sprung by a guy by the name of George Maladon. And I'm going to talk a little more about him, okay? He's kind of got an interesting story. So George Maladon was Parker's very small but efficient hangman, and the 6 black hooded figures dropped to their deaths as George pulled the trigger, or so to speak.
Did all the people that were being hung, I've read that some of them said, no, I want to look at the public and let them feel my pain by not wearing the hood. Is that
it doesn't
true?
say anything about that.
Oh, okay.
It doesn't, so I don't know. Now, from this time on, Parker was branded as a heartless man, despite the fact that he actually had wept openly in court as he pronounced his first death sentence. So he was a kind-hearted guy, sort of. He just wanted to make sure things got done.
Yeah.
You know, and you know that would be a pretty good deterrent from others. You know.
Pretty good?
Yeah. Anyway, it is certainly true that Parker had little sympathy with theories of what they called rehabilitation. He didn't think some of these bad guys could be rehabilitated.
We need more Parkers today.
Yeah. But he believed in quick and irrevocable punishment as the surest deterrent to crime, and that he was often heard to remark that the criminal, when born, had doubtless come into the world with the mark of Cain stamped on his forehead. Okay? And it is true that Parker came to resent the appeals process. In fact, for the first 14 years of his judgeship, Parker enjoyed the remarkable position of being the final word of justice. No appeals. From his court, there was no appeal, not even to the Supreme Court of the United States. In effect, Parker's word was the law.
You're painting a picture of where you seem to put the onus on him, but there had to be a trial, there had to be a prosecuting and a defense team, right. But it doesn't say too much about the defense attorneys, does it?
Well, but they had witnesses that would come just like a regular trial. So yeah. I think when the everything was put out there, that was what he had to do. Mm-hmm. But anyway, later as the federal government continued to kind of shrink the area of his judgeship and opened the court to the appeals process, Parker spoke out, especially on one occasion when a jail guard was murdered by a notorious outlaw who had remained in jail long after his established execution date, thanks to an appeal. In his last 7 years on the bench, Parker saw 50 of his 78 death sentences reversed on appeal. Justice was becoming modern and civilized, so to speak. Parker was kind of a remnant of the dying frontier, an embarrassment to the forward-looking legal establishment. And anyway, Parker, he was getting older by now, and a victim of diabetes and exhaustion. I mean, you saw how long he worked every week. Yeah. But Charles Isaac Parker went home to bed after 21 years as a federal judge, just 2 months before Indian Territory was to be removed entirely from his jurisdiction. So his area became much, much smaller. Anyway, he remained sick at home on September 1st, 1896, when the Court of the United States for the Western District of Arkansas was officially adjourned forever. 2 months later, Parker died. So that was kind of the end. But I told you I want to talk about this George Malladin.
Yeah, the guy that pulled the switch.
Yeah. So, the Court of the United States for the Western District of Arkansas, otherwise known as Indian Territory in the latter two-thirds of the 19th century, required an exceptionally efficient hangman. You had to have somebody who knew what they were doing. Thanks to the hard-nosed sentencing practices of Judge Parker. So the executions were carried out in 88 of those cases, most of them performed by George Malladin. He was a Bavarian immigrant. It was said that Malladin never had a customer complain.
I don't even know what to say.
Nobody complained after they were hung. So Malladin, who stood just 5 feet 5 inches tall, was not a man to trifle with. In addition to his unquestioned artistry on the scaffold, he also shot and killed 2 prisoners who attempted to escape from the Fort Smith jail. You didn't mess around with George. Mm-hmm. He was a man who took pride in a job well done, and he preferred to use well-oiled, hand-woven Kentucky hemp ropes. He was an artist, Zeb. He always took care to place the traditional hangman's knot behind the doomed man's left ear, since he believed this location to be the most effective as well as the most merciful. When Malladin dropped the trap, referred to certain hard cases as, quote, the gates of hell, the careful placement of the knot caused the hanged man's neck to snap the instant he hit the end of the rope, which spared the guy a slow, strangling death. Yeah. So he knew what he was doing. Now, the scaffold itself was designed with efficiency and economy in mind. On 2 occasions, Malladin pulled the trap with 6 condemned men standing on the scaffold. At times, he dealt with groups of 5, 4, maybe 3. You don't want to waste time here. Malladin was a thrifty man. He used the same ropes again and again. Now, there are photographs of Malladin shown a man with kind of a receding hairline. Can you picture this? He's got a beard. He's standing very rigidly and staunch, staring at the camera. But he did have a sense of humor of sorts. He once told a woman that he was never troubled by the spirits of the men he'd hanged, since the ghost didn't hang around.
Oh, he was a Johnny Carson of his time.
A funny guy, He could also be sentimental in his own peculiar way. When the man responsible for killing his own daughter was arrested, Malladin asked for the honor of hanging him personally. Okay,
Really?
A little bit of a tragedy right there.
Yeah.
When the city of Fort Smith decided to destroy the gallows and put the memory of its gruesome business behind, Maladin begged to be allowed to keep the gallows. It was
He wanted it as a keepsake?
Yeah. But the city refused, and through the greater part, most of it was actually burned. Maladin was able to retrieve a few cherished ropes and pieces of the scaffold and parts of the mechanism that dropped, and he took these prizes on tour and charged the curious public admission to view these last grim relics from the gates of hell.
That wouldn't go over well today.
I don't think so.
Oh, my goodness sakes. What year did he pass away?
It doesn't say.
I see.
But remember, I told the story a long time ago about Black Jack Ketchum, who the rope stretched during the night, and the next day when they hung him, his head popped off.
Yeah, you did.
So, you want to have a guy like Maladin that knows the art of the hanging.
What does a guy do that's convicted to hang? I mean, he go up and ask a guy for credentials or what?
Well, I think maybe they knew that George would be the guy.
And we joke about it, but what a gruesome way to possibly not die.
Yeah. Well, I've told the story a long time ago. Out here north of us, over towards the Shoshone area, they had no trees.
Right.
So they brought 2 wagons in, close, tongue to tongue, raised the wagon tongues up, so they formed like a teepee, and they hanged the guy from that.
Oh, my goodness.
So some guys got a little creative with the hanging process, but...
So if you're a bad guy and you see about 6 or 7 guys coming after you with a great, big, soft rope...
just run as fast
as you can run. Okay.
Yeah, so that's hanging Judge Parker and his good friend George Maladin.
Holy smokes. Things somewhat need to go back to that era to where people respect the law and order.
Well, it is what it is, and back then they did just kind of basically, and the sad thing is, I'm sure there were some that were hung or shot that weren't guilty.
Yeah.
There are cases, and
if you want to get a real feeling, I think, for what happened at a hanging in the old days, watch the movie with Steve McQueen about Tom Horn.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Believe me.
Well, that's the story for today.
Well, you did it again. I mean, such a cheerful story to have.
Well, Judge Parker was a good guy.
Oh yeah.
He was kind-hearted.
Yeah.
But he was firm.
Oh, absolutely. I can't wait to ask you what's going to be on next week.
That's a good question.
That's what I figured. No, it's good to have you back every week, Dr. History, and of course his knowledge of the Old West. And by the way, did you see the great RFD Cowboy Channel coverage of Cheyenne Frontier Days?
I did not.
It was excellent.
Oh, okay.
They made the daddy of them all, just absolutely the daddy of them all. Cheyenne's coverage on the Cowboy Channel was just second to none.
Check that
It
out.
was excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent. Anyhow, I know you got to get home, feed the horses, and get the steers and everything, so have a great day, and we'll see you next Tuesday.
Sounds good, Zeb.
All right, buddy. Thank you. Dr. History, and I really appreciate him on this program. By the way, I also want to remind you what our friends Matt and Kelly Wiggins with Greystone Crossing Independent Senior Living. This is such a nice place. Ken, you've been by it and seen it, I'm sure, right there on Alfresco Road. It's a beautiful, beautiful senior living department. I guarantee you that you should call and check out the rooms, check out the living facilities, and check out being with your friends. 650-4979. 650-4979. Matt and Kelly Wiggins at Greystone Crossing. 3 meals a day, plus all the snacks and the housekeeping done for you. Local transportation. It's great. It's a great place for senior living. Greystone Crossing Independent Senior Living in Heyburn. You get a hold of them today. Right now, we're going to send it over to our main studios, and we'll be back in about 3 minutes.
And now, back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KBAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb Bell.
Oh, my goodness sakes, there is going to be a dandy good sale for you this Saturday. It's the Roger Paulson auction. It's going to be at 11 o'clock on Saturday. Wait a minute. Did I say this Saturday? It's coming up on August 24th, so be ready for that up in Fairfield. And I said this Saturday, and I apologize. It's going to be on August 24th, and it's going to be a fantastic sale with all kinds of 70 years collections of electric trains and accessories. As the days and weeks go by, we're going to be telling you a lot more about that, and that's coming up on August 24th. Don't you miss it. Up in Fairfield, managed by the Bennett Boys Auction Service. No sale too big, no sale too small. The Bennett Boys, they sell them all. I'm very honored this morning to have a gentleman that's a former United States congressman and serves as an advisory board member for We Build the Wall, and author of the famous Bush-era book called In Mortal Danger, The Battle for America's Border and Security. And we say good morning to former United States Congressman Tom Tancredo. Sir, how are you?
I'm well, thank you, and thank you very much for allowing me to join you today.
Well, I guess, Tom, you've been on my program years ago, and I'm going to be blunt, I'm going to be very forthright. I've got a lot of criticisms against our Congress and what's not being done, and you, as a former congressman, you can give us the insight. What is the matter with these people that we elected that we can't get one doggone thing done on the border?
Yeah. Well, it goes back to I call it the cabal, and here's what I mean. When I first went into Congress, which was 1998, this was my issue. I had talked about it, dealt with it for years, even before I was in Congress. And so when I went in, I had this impression, mistaken as it turned out to be, that there would be somebody, at least people on our side of the aisle, who were sympathetic to my cause, which was secure borders, end of illegal immigration. And I was somewhat surprised, I have to tell you, that I found out very soon thereafter, my election, that indeed there was no one on my side, and certainly no one on the Democrat side. And the reason was because the Democrats knew, and this is the elites of the parties, both parties, they knew that massive immigration of people, both legal and illegal, of people who actually don't even want to be American and won't assimilate into the country, that was their pathway and ticket to continued electoral success. The Republicans looked at the same phenomena, legal and illegal immigration, massive, and saw cheap labor. Hence, even though a majority of people in the country, even then, agreed with the idea that we needed to have secure borders, people should come into the country legally, that never was able to be a successful public policy in the Congress because of this cabal. It's the elites in both parties for whom the status quo works just fine. That has been the major issue. You look at Paul Ryan as an example, and he just won. But I assure you, it was not the only part of leadership in the Republican Party that was sympathetic to open borders. But no matter what we tried to do, even though he would pay lip service to it, because of course Trump got elected on it, he would pay lip service to it, but never, ever would allow a bill through that was anything meaningful on the issue. And it's because he is what I call another Chamber of Commerce Republican. The Chamber of Commerce is one of the most powerful influences in the Republican Party. And by that I mean it is responsible for the contributions of many, many, many business people to the leadership PAC that is run every year, millions and millions of dollars. And of course, they are the Koch brothers writ small. So you look at what has happened just there. You've got the Koch brothers. These people were supposedly, I mean, remember the left hated them. The 60 Minutes ranked on them, did terrible interview. You know, these people were horrible because they supported Republicans and they were enormously wealthy. Well, of course, they don't anymore. They're openly hostile to Republicans because of this issue. And so they're an example, as I say, of what the problem is, but believe me, it reaches every level. And, I mean, I spoke all over the country on the issue, and I would go from district to district, any place anybody would ask me. I ran for president in 2007, Republican nomination, ran for the nomination. On this issue, I was never going to get nominated, and I was never going to be president. But it was my swan song. I decided to leave Congress, do that, and then say I've done everything I possibly can. But the leadership hated everything I was about. And perhaps everything I've told you can be wrapped up in this short story. I would speak in congressional districts, even Republican, and I would criticize the Republican president, George Bush, the Republican Congress, and including, I'd be speaking somewhere in Idaho, let's say, and somebody would say, well, how's our guy, you know, how's Fred on the, and I'd say, Fred is lousy. And Fred would be on the phone in about 20 seconds with the leadership, Tom DeLay. I would get back to Washington, be called into the woodshed for going into a Republican district and speaking against a Republican. And that finally, after about the fifth time, Tom DeLay said to me, and this is what he said, it tells you everything you need to know about the problem in Congress. He said, if you keep this up, you are going to ruin your career in this place. And I looked at him and I said, that's it? This is the big threat, huh? I said, Tom, I don't know how to break this to you. I don't want a career in this place. I don't even like this place. But that threat that he made to me was the worst thing he could come up with. And that's because it works for 90% of the people who are there. So there you are. That's the reason.
You know, Tom, we've got a little bit of a wavering, a little bit of a VoIP system with the phone, so I ask you to please hold it as still as possible. But I'm really upset for your candid answer, and I'll tell you why. Is that where we're at in America today? That our laws and our Constitution are going to be nothing worthy more than a wink and a nod by our representatives, our congressmen and our senators, and we're going to have a blind eye and a deaf ear turned to what this country stands for? That just teased me off.
As well it should. As well it should. And everybody listening. Because the Constitution, you know, I used to explain all the time. I'd say, you know, when I was elected, I still remember, and each time I am reelected, and you go on the floor of the House, you take an oath, and that oath is to the Constitution. It is not to a party or to a president. The ultimate, I think, sort of loyalty that anybody should have, especially a congressman, but you know, people take that kind of an oath at almost every level of government. But it means so little to anybody anymore in terms of what they don't know what's in it for the most part, so they don't have a hard time saying that they'll take an oath to it because, you know, what do they really know? And what do they think their constituents know about it? Not much. And so it's safe for them to say, oh, yeah, uphold the Constitution, promise to defend it against all enemies, foreign and domestic. It means nothing.
Let me ask you about the current administration. Is there, and I'm putting you on the spot here, is there any hope that Donald Trump in a second term in office could or would or should turn this around in favor of our laws and our Constitution? Or in basic language, are we just going to go to hell on this issue?
Well, I don't know. I don't know the answer to the question. I wish I did. I could conjecture, but I can tell you that he's as close to a true believer on it as anybody I've ever known, especially in the office. Whether or not he saw it originally as just simply a niche position to take that none of the other Republicans were touching, and therefore he was smart enough to see it as that. I don't know, but I think in doing what he's done, he has become truly committed to it. The broader question seems to me to be, what is the long-term projection? What do you think is going to happen? Let's say he wins a second term, but he'll be gone after that. Will we have secured somehow, just because of his attention to it and that sort of thing, will we have been able to turn the tide so that we don't have to worry about our republic being destroyed by this issue? Because I believe with all my heart that it is something that can and is absolutely designed to destroy the republic. This is why you have such a commitment to it on the part of the left. Why do you think they're so vicious about it? Why do you think they fight it so hard? And because you think to yourself, it's so odd that you're telling people, I am doing everything I can to help people break into our country. And you think, well, nobody's going to agree to that. Why are they doing this? It is because it fulfills the promise that Barack Obama articulated. He wasn't the first one, but he articulated the promise to thoroughly transform America. Mm-hmm. And immigration, massive immigration, both legal and illegal, of people who are not assimilating, who want us to be balkanized, tribalized, and essentially destroy the unum, and e pluribus unum. This is the end of the republic. This is the transformation of America that Barack Obama articulated. This is why they fight it so vehemently and committed to it so totally. And it's not just here. It is throughout the Western world. It is throughout Europe. Look at what has happened, all as a result of massive immigration. It is the end, the Judeo-Christian principles upon which our society, our civilization, Western civilization has been based, is being eroded and destroyed. And that is why when I look at the very long term, not just what happens in the Trump administration, but the very long term, I worry to no end about it, and I don't know what to do except pray. Pray for the country, pray for the president, because I believe he is he is in danger. I mean, politically and physically, I must admit.
Tom, over the years, we have seen and heard and listened and read about politicians like Kamala Harris, like Cory Booker, like wild-haired Bernie, Elizabeth Warren, everybody else, Joe Biden, and discuss an open borders policy to where everybody, come on in, it's a great big picnic. I sit here on this program and I'm just absolutely shocked as to how men and women that supposedly have good educations and want to represent this United States of America could be that dumb and create the chaos with the taxpayers. As a taxpayer, I'm sick and tired of paying taxes and giving all these illegals a free housing, free food, free everything in this country with no reciprocity coming back to this nation. When are they going to learn that this is going to bankrupt the United States of America?
Well, do you know who Cloward? Do you know who the two professors are, Cloward and Piven?
Yeah, absolutely.
Who produced a theory a few years back, Harvard professors, the Cloward-Piven theory, and it's, I think, a very apropos to our discussion. They were devoted socialists who believed that the country would not necessarily go that way on its own, and that it needed a push And the push was to essentially overwhelm the system with demands for social services and essentially bring it down. And the only way you can do that is by massive importation of people who demand those services. And remember, for your grandparents and mine, immigration, it meant you had two options when you got here, unless you were independently wealthy. You either worked or you starved. There was no such thing as what the welfare state, food stamps, or anything else. And so even if you were inclined that way, you couldn't really do anything about it because those were your two options. But today, of course, we have created a welfare state that attracts millions and essentially billions of people who seek out America, not just as a place to express their their desire for freedom, but as a place to be taken advantage of.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's the Cloward-Piven theory, and it's just as you say.
Absolutely. We have a caller with a quick comment and a question. Caller, please, you're on the air. Go ahead, please.
I just have a question, and I'll listen off the air. What is their ultimate goal? Why do they want to do this, Tom? It doesn't make sense to me. And I'll listen to your response off air. Thanks.
Go ahead, Tom, please.
As I said, was articulated by Barack Obama. He said, and you will recall, he said it on more than one occasion, that he wanted to thoroughly transform America. Well, into what? Well, into a socialist system, into a socialist state. That's what he was, and that's what these people are. So that is the goal. It's as pure and simple as that. But they know they cannot accomplish it without this change in the culture, in the demography of the United States. And by the way, it's got nothing really to do with color of skin or ethnicity. It's got to do with anyone's desire to actually be an American when they come here, in spirit and in heart, and to give up any allegiance to another country, again, in heart, in their heart. Diversity can be a fine thing, can be a healthy thing, but it can't be the only thing that holds a country together. That's an oxymoronic thought. And yet that is what you hear it constantly, right? The push for diversity. Well, in our country, because we are so diverse, you desperately need something that holds you together.
Right.
Because there are millions of things that pull us apart as a nation. And so we need something, some idea that holds us together as Americans. Now, that starts with a language, as far as I'm concerned. We need a common language. So when you come here, you have to accept the idea, you should accept the idea that it requires a language change, if you will, because that shows a commitment to the American culture. And it is also important for assimilation. But when we stop that, when we tell people there is no purpose in, why learn another? We will teach you in your language. You can stay separate in your communities. You can balkanize. You can tribalize. This is all, as I say, designed to change the country. And the purpose is to change it into a socialist state. And it's not just here. It is throughout the Western world.
Absolutely. Tom, I'm down to the last 2 minutes in this segment. I've got one more call. And caller, you've got to be really quick. I'm only going to give you 15 seconds. Go fast.
Yes, Zeb, question is, what do they expect to get when they get socialism? What does the hierarchy expect if it's going to happen? No one will work. I'll let you go.
Tom, refer back to the caller, please.
Power. They will be in charge. And why will they be in charge? Because they will have millions upon millions of people who will vote for government largesse. Wasn't it de Tocqueville? I think it may have been. But anyways, I remember an observer of the political scene in the United States once said that once people understand that they can vote themselves the government largesse, the democracy, at the time he was referring to, it will be over. And that's because, of course, listen, it boils down to this one adage. Please remember it, always. When you rob Peter to pay Paul, you can always count on Paul's vote.
Amen. Tom, I'm going to ask you, I've got at least another 30 questions I've got formulated in my mind right now. I need to have you come back in the near future, and I want to tell you how much I appreciate our conversation. Former United States Congressman, and I wish it wasn't former, I wish it was current, Tom Tancredo. Thank you so much. God's blessings, and I'll be in touch with you to come back on the show.
It's a deal. Bye-bye.
Thank you, sir. Tells it like it is. And I just can't say enough about Tom Tancredo and his philosophy. We've got to do something, folks. We're an open sponge. An open sponge. And we can't absorb everyone. Wow, I got to get the weather on quickly. The weather brought to you by Scarro's Meats. Don Scarrow and the crew at 331 North Road, Jerome. Oh, my goodness, call them on the phone. Got a picnic, got a great big company gathering. Well, they've got all the good meat, I'll tell you. Marinated pork ribs, the tri-tips, all the bratwurst, everything. Call them today, Scarro's Meats, 324-7657, or go to their website, scarrowsmeats.com. Great meats from Scarro's Meats. Here now, Gina with the weather.
A beautiful day is what's in store for us this Tuesday. Here's the look at your weather forecast. We are expecting sunny skies and a high of 92, a little bit on the breezy side. Winds out of the southwest at about 10 miles an hour. For tonight, mostly clear with a low of 58. Few clouds roaming around for Wednesday, partly sunny skies. We are expecting a high of 92 with an overnight low of 60. And then as we hit Thursday, mostly sunny skies and 88. That's a look at your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch.
Thank you very much, Gina. Appreciate it. And the weather again brought to you by Don Scarrow and his wonderful, wonderful crew at 331 North Road, Jerome. 324-7657. They are changing the way we eat, one delicious bite at a time. Wow. Tomorrow on the program, lots and lots of goodies, including the Old Fishing Hole with Josh Anderson, brought to you by Sportsman's Warehouse. And we're going to have Dr. James Shank on our program from the Cassia County School System. We're going to be talking to folks at the Minidoka County Fair. Dave Vigo back in Indianapolis, Indiana. Woo! What a program tomorrow. Busy, busy. And all thanks to our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations serving you with the best of tires, the best of brake service, front end alignment, shocks and struts and batteries. But above all, the best of service. I mean, they come at a high lope out to your car. May we help you. These are really great people, and they also provide a free pre-trip safety check where they'll check your tires for air pressure, the wheel alignment for tire wear, front-end components, shocks and struts, battery including a load test, all the brake components. They want you to have a safe trip. Go from point A to point B and back to point A again safely. Great people. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, Daniel on Poline in Twin Falls, and Trent on Overland in Burley. They are the best. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Whew. Good morning. Busy morning. Can't wait till tomorrow morning. And we always say at the end of the program, the way things are the way things ought to be. And also, the world needs more cowboys. But I am proud to add this to our program every day, our national motto. And it's so true. In God we trust. See you tomorrow morning at 8:06. Zeb at the Ranch.